Hi, welcome on Bombardier. So on this channel you will get to know the lives of famous people of around the world. So subscribe, like, share and also comment your opinion in the comment section. This video is about Pablo Escobar, a drug lord and a narco-terrorist, about his life, criminal career up to his death. Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria was born on 1st December 1949 in Rio Negro, Antioquia department. He was the third of 7 children and grew up in the neighboring city of Medellin. His father was a small farmer and his mother was a teacher. Escobar left high school in 1966 just before his 17th birthday, before returning 2 years later with his cousin Gustavo Gaviria. At this time, the hard life of the streets of Medellin had polished them into a gangster bullies in the eyes of teachers. The two dropped out of school after more than a year, but Escobar, who did not give up, briefly became autonomous in Latin America by forging high school diplomas. He then studied in college with the goal of becoming a criminal lawyer, a politician and eventually the president, but had to give up because of lack of money. Escobar began his criminal career in 1966. Escobar is rumored to have started his criminal career with his gang by stealing tombstones, sandblasting their inscriptions, and reselling them, though his most likely first crime was street fraud. After dropping out of school, Escobar began to join car theft gangs, and at the age of 20 was already a household name for car thieves. He and his gang stole cars and dismantled them to sell their parts, and with enough money on hand, Escobar bribed officials to launder his loot. While arrest records have been lost, Escobar apparently sat in a Medellin prison for several months before his 20th birthday. Escobar soon became involved in violent crime, employing criminals to kidnap people who owed him money and demand ransoms, sometimes tearing up tickets even when Escobar received the ransom. His most famous kidnapping victim was the businessman Diego Echevarria, who was kidnapped and eventually killed in the summer of 1971. Escobar received $50,000 ransom from the Echevarria family. His gang became well known for this kidnapping. Escobar had been involved in organized crime for a decade when the cocaine trade began to spread in Colombia in the mid-1970s. One of Colombia's first drug dealers was Fabio Restrepo, who shipped about 40 to 60 kilograms of cocaine to Miami once or twice a year. Under Escobar's mastermind, Restrepo was assassinated in 1975, and Escobar seized his market and business. Escobar's meteoric rise also caught the attention of the Colombian Security Service, who arrested him in May 1976 on his return from drug trafficking in Ecuador. Colombian Security Service agents found 39 kilograms of cocaine in the spare tire of Escobar's car. Escobar managed to change the first judge in the lawsuit and bribed the second judge, so he was released along with other prisoners. The following year, the agent who arrested Escobar was assassinated. Escobar continued to collude with law enforcement in the same fashion. His strategy came to be known as silver or lead, or money or bullets. Although the Medellin group was only established in the early 1970s, it expanded after Escobar met several drug lords on a farm in April 1978. And by the end of 1978, they had transported some 19,000 kilograms of cocaine to the United States. Soon, the demand of cocaine greatly increased in the United States, which led to Escobar organizing more smuggling shipment routes and distribution networks in South Florida, California, Puerto Rico, and other parts of the country. He and the cartel co-founder Carlos worked together to develop a new transshipment point in the Bahamas, an island called Norman's Cay, about 350 kilometers southeast of the Florida coast. According to his brother, Escobar did not purchase Norman's Cay. It was instead a sole venture of Carlos. Escobar and Robert Vesco purchased most of the land on the island, which include a 1-kilometer airstrip, a harbor, a hotel, houses, boats, and aircrafts, and they built a refrigerated warehouse to store the cocaine. From 1978 to 1982, this was used as a central smuggling route for the Medellin cartel. With the enormous profits generated by this route, Escobar was soon able to purchase 20 square kilometers of land in Antioquia for several $1,000,000, on which he built the Hacienda Napote. The luxury house he created contained a zoo, a lake, a sculpture garden, a private bull ring, and other amenities of his family and the cartel. Escobar was also involved in philanthropy in Colombia and paid handsomely for the staff of his cocaine lab. Escobar spent millions developing some of the Medellin's poorest neighborhoods. He helped build roads, power lines, and soccer fields. He also built housing complexes for the homeless. Escobar also entered politics in the 1970s and participated in and supported the formation of the Liberal Party of Colombia. In 1982, he successfully entered the Colombian Congress. Although only an alternate, he was automatically granted parliamentary immunity and the right to a diplomatic passport under Colombian law. At the same time, Escobar was gradually becoming a public figure. And because of his charitable work, he was known as Robin Hood Paisa. He alleged once in an interview that his fortune came from a bicycle rental company he founded when he was 16 years old. In Congress, the new Minister of Justice, Rodrigo Rara Bonilla, had become Escobar's opponent, accusing Escobar of criminal activity from the very first day of Congress. Escobar's arrest in 1976 was investigated by the Rara Bonilla's subordinate. A few months later, Liberal leader Luis Carlos Galan expelled Escobar from the party. Although Escobar fought back, he announced his retirement from politics in January 1984. 3 months later, Rara Bonilla was murdered. The Colombian judiciary had been a target of Escobar throughout the mid-1980s. While bribing and murdering several judges in the fall of 1985, the wanted Escobar requested the Colombian government to allow his conditional surrender without extradition to the United States. The proposal was initially answered in the negative, and Escobar subsequently founded and implicitly supported the Los Extraditable Organization, which aims to fight extradition policy. The Los Extraditable Organization was subsequently accused of participating in an effort to prevent the Colombian Supreme Court from studying the constitutionality of Colombia's extradition treaty with the United States. In support of the 6 November 1985 far-left guerrilla movement that attacked the Colombian judiciary building and killed half of the justices of the Supreme Court. In late 1986, Colombia Supreme Court declared the previous extradition treaty illegal due to being signed by a presidential delegation, not the president. Escobar's victory over the judiciary was short-lived, with the new president Bill Gilo Barco Vargas having quickly renewed his agreement with the United States. Escobar still held a grudge against Luis Carlos Galan, who kicked him out of politics, and was assassinated on 18 August 1989 at Escobar's orders. Escobar then planted a bomb on Avianca Flight 203 in an attempt to assassinate Galan's successor, Cesar Gaviria Trujillo, who missed the plane and survived but was on board. All 107 people were killed in the blast. Because 2 Americans were also killed in the bombing, the US government began to intervene directly. After the assassination of Luis Carlos Galan, the administration of Cesar Gaviria moved against Escobar and drug cartels. Eventually, the government negotiated with Escobar and convinced him to surrender and cease all criminal activity in exchange for a reduced sentence and preferential treatment during his captivity, declaring an end to a series of previous violent acts meant to pressure authorities and public opinion. Escobar surrendered to Colombian authorities in 1991. Before he gave up himself, the extradition of Colombian citizens to the United States had been prohibited by the newly approved Colombian Constitution of 1991. This act was controversial as it was suspected that Escobar and other drug lords had influenced members of the Constituent Assembly in passing the law. Escobar was confined in what became his own luxurious private prison, La Catedral, which featured a football pitch, a giant dollhouse, a bar, a jacuzzi, and a waterfall. Accounts of Escobar's continued criminal activities while in prison began to surface in the media, which prompted the government to attempt to move him to a more conventional jail on 22nd July 1992. Escobar's influence allowed him to discover the plan in advance and make a successful escape, spending the remainder of his life evading the police. Escobar faced threats from the Colombian police, the US government, and his rival, the Cali cartel. On 2nd December 1993, Escobar was found in a house in a middle-class residential area of Medellin by Colombian special forces using technology provided by the United States. Police tried to arrest Escobar, but the situation quickly escalated to an exchange of gunfire. Escobar was shot and killed while trying to escape from the roof. He was hit by bullets in the torso and feet, and a bullet which struck him in the ear, killing him. This sparked debate about whether he killed himself or whether he was shot dead. Soon after Escobar's death and the subsequent fragmentation of the Medellin cartel, the cocaine market became dominated by the rival Cali cartel until the mid-1990s, when its leaders were either killed or captured by the Colombian government. The Robin Hood image that Escobar had cultivated maintained a lasting influence in Medellin. Many there, especially many of the city's poor whom Escobar had aided while he was alive, mourned his death, and over 25,000 people attended his funeral. Some of them consider him a saint and pray to him for receiving divine help. Escobar was buried at the Monte Sacro Cemetery. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and also comment. Please feel free to tell us the next famous person you would like us to make a video about. Thank you.